Wizards of the Coast tries to run a tight ship, but leaks are always going to spring up, and I'll always be there to take a little sip of the water. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, it's my birthday today, but I bring a gift for all of you, and it's not just my inability to speak. Partying maybe a little bit too hard last night. Mikey might have had a rough night last night. Either way, I'm here in my lovely birthday onesie. Isn't this great? Isn't this delightful? This is a full-on onesie. Can you guys see? Like, oh yeah! You normally don't get the knee action. There we go. You got the full Monty on that one. All right, so I'm sure some of you are already saying, stop wasting my time, dude. You tantalize me with promises of spoiler stuff about Kaldheim, about different creatures and whatever. And here you're just yammering about, yeah, it's my birthday. I can do what I want. I mean, I can do what I want any day, actually. There's literally, you have no power here. You have no power here. But I'm going to be nice. I'm actually going to dive in to what we're here to talk about. So we've got a little bit of teaser information about Kaldheim, and I want to talk about how I'm going to be building my first commander deck, because I noticed the last time that I brought up the concept of me getting into commander, there was a whole bunch of people going, wait, what? I don't even care about the rest of the video. Tell me more about that. So we'll handle that afterwards. I've made you guys wait long enough. So there is a leak specifically from a distributor / vendor located in Australia. That's what makes things tricky for Wizards of the Coast, right? Is they have so many different partners that they deal with that all it takes is like one little slip up and the Magic community is like, run, get it, grab the information and run off into the woods. It's like Wizards of the Coast is just standing there in a clearing, but all around them are just like scores of hungry raccoons. So as soon as Wizards pulls out the tiniest little niblet, the raccoons just come running, and Wizards like, but there's always one that's just, and it grabs in its little hands and runs off into the woods, and then we all go, ah. So we've got a situation where commander deck names were spoiled by an Australian vendor, okay? So we have two commander deck names. The first deck name is Elven Empire, and the second deck name is Phantom Premonition. Now, these are both actually really interesting concepts to me. Now, clearly, I'm just going to have to make stuff up here, otherwise known as speculating. The idea of elves being on Kaldheim. So Kaldheim is a snowy, harsh Viking plain. Raw! So we got a couple of different options, right? You could have the option where the elves are big, hardy Viking elves that live out in the crazy extreme cold, which is a really nutty concept. There have been a few elves we've seen from like Dominarian's Ice Age that were adapted to the ice, like those elves of Freyalise. What are they called? Whatever. There's a 1/1 mana producing elf that's from those whatever. Either way, you get what I'm saying. There's elves that have existed in this kind of circumstance. But my brain goes, how cool would it be to have these elves that, because of their in-tune nature with like magic and everything like that, they have a forest that is unaffected by like the winter. So you've got the whole plane is constantly in a state of winter, right? As far as, this is my guess for Kaldheim. The whole plane is constantly a snowy wasteland that is inhospitable and has the hardiest of folk living there. But how cool would it be to have an elven forest somewhere in some far-flung corner of this plane it's not visited very frequently. In fact, most people consider it to be a fable because it's the only place on the plane of Kaldheim where snow doesn't fall. So once you start to get to the edge of the forest, all of a sudden down below you can just see green grass growing, which obviously can't happen when snow's piling on top of it. And then all these healthy trees, and like the snow is just turning to a nourishing rain when it hits the invisible borders of the elven lands. Like they're in tune with nature in a way where they're able to create this special sort of shelter, you know? And that obviously could create a contrast and conflict between the inhabitants of the forest and the surrounding people who might feel like either, you know, one of the main things could just be resentment. It could just be they're resentful that they have to live this hard toil life and the elves get to live in their magical forest. But the elves know they only have enough magic to sustain themselves, and their numbers are actually dwindling because they can't replenish themselves the same way. And if they try and leave the forest, they get cut down by people outside of it. So they're trapped with an inability to share what they have. So it's not a matter of the elves being like, ha ha, we're going to keep what we have and you can't get it, although they could go that route as well. Either way, there's a lot of really cool fuel for the imagination when it comes to thinking about how elves would fit into this brutal sort of Nordic kind of world, right? So then we've got the other deck, which is Phantom Premonition. Now, this makes me think that there's going to be a bunch of Phantom stuff going on in Kaldheim, but bear in mind, they can do commander decks that don't actually tie the same way to Kaldheim, so I don't 100% know how much this is going to affect the set overall, but it is fun to speculate on. So for me, what will be coolest to see with Phantoms on Kaldheim is, like, think about the way the Viking mindset. The Viking mindset is like conquer or be conquered. The idea of going to Valhalla, which is like warrior heaven, where the biggest, doughtiest warriors go, right? But the thing is you can't go to Valhalla unless you go like valorously in battle or something like that. Like if you waste away as an old person or like just end in your sick bed or whatever like that, none of that means you get to go to Valhalla. So you need to be hale and hearty, and you need to go down in battle to actually make your way to their idea of heaven. So picture like Phantoms from this kind of a world where you've got this icy, cold world. And my idea of like the craziest kind of Phantoms to really kind of make them unique and tie into Kaldheim to a degree would be to do something similar to like a vampire concept. Do you know, like, vampires want blood, and they create more of themselves as well by like draining blood from people. Go, I'm gonna suck on you, draw your blood out. And then there's a procedure. As a result of that procedure, people can end up as a vampire. In some mythologies, you end up with anybody bitten by a vampire and like has their blood sucked is gonna become a vampire. And in other ones, it requires the vampire to draw your blood out and replace it with some of there's own. But there's not a hard and fast rule for that. So for me, the idea that would be coolest with Phantoms on Kaldheim would to take the concept and go, the Phantoms are all spirits that have died in the cold. So the cold overwhelmed them, and as a result, instead of like vampires are obsessed with blood, right? These Phantoms would be obsessed with heat. So they're drawn to any sources of heat whatsoever. Campfires, people's bodies or whatever. So you could have a situation where you'd have a bunch of Viking warriors and they're out like sitting around a campfire, right? Just like warming themselves around a campfire after a night of successful hunting. You know, they're just, good-naturedly ribbing each other. Maybe some of them are arm wrestling or doing like whatever kind of warrior culture stuff you have going on. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the fire just goes out, but nobody's poured any water on it. None of that's happened. And all the Vikings just yell and scatter because they know what it means. It means a phantom has appeared, drawn to the campfire the way a moth would be drawn to the flame. But the very nature of the phantom is like, it can never be quenched. It can never stop being an insanely frozen beast. So it just draws in heat the same way that your wife's feet against your body will draw all the heat out of you. Do you know what I'm talking about? But it's worse for these, well, maybe it's not worse. Anyways, so the campfire snuffs out because the phantom's drawn all the heat out of it. But this phantom still hungers for this heat. So now it's going to turn on these Viking warriors. And any of these Viking warriors that are touched by the phantom are going to have all of their heat drawn out of them, which means their lives are going to end instantly on the spot. And even worse than that, they will be turned into a phantom. And even if they weren't turned into a phantom, that automatically closes the gates of heaven to them. You don't get to go to Valhalla by being touched by a spirit and having all of your life force, like your warmth, drawn out of you, right? So that would be a fate more terrifying than having an enemy cut you down. So just the idea of spirits like that seems like a really cool concept. Now, bear in mind, everything that I've said is based purely on what I think would be cool possibilities for the world. I have literally no information other than the names. But for me, that's enough to have an exciting conversation. Now, speaking of excitement, my friends, I've been talking about this in live streams. And for those of you who don't know, since it's come up today, if you guys don't know, if you think I make multiple videos a day and delete them, that's not what's happening. I run a live stream every single evening on this channel. And when the live stream's done, I delete it so it doesn't clutter up the channel. So if you think you're clicking on videos and it has chill stream in the name, that actually means live stream. All right, just so that you're aware. So I've been talking to live stream about this arriving. This is going to be the first commander for my first commander deck. And on top of that, I have these birthday gifts, which I can use in my quest to build my first commander deck. So we're gonna do that. That's gonna be a very fun time. I just wanted to share my excitement over that as well. I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. Tonight we're gonna have a fun birthday live stream for me. And actually, I may be playing Minecraft over on Twitch today as well with my buddy, because we got a brand new server going. So either I'll be playing that on my own or possibly playing it on Twitch. Feel free to come by and hang out if you want to spend some time with the birthday monkey, the birthday man ape. There you go. All right, so thanks for coming by, everybody. If you like what I'm doing here, like, comment, subscribe. It's all great for the channel. Jump on my Patreon. That's always nice. And it's my birthday, so why not? And yeah, because other than that, thanks for coming by. I will see you all either tonight or tomorrow.